I was listening to Desert Island Discs on Radio 4 the other day, and the castaway was Brian Cox, the actor. I have to confess, I was most intrigued to listen to it because I thought it was Brian Cox, the scientist, who I think is far more interesting. However, it turns out that Brian Cox is a well-known actor. Many of you will know who he is. I must confess, he was new to me. But at the end of that programme, they talk to the castaway and they ask them, what book would you take to the desert island, and what one disc of the 6 that you've chosen would you also take? They give to them the complete works of Shakespeare and a copy of the Bible, knowing of course that they would be oft chosen books, so it makes the choice more interesting. Brian Cox was asked, which book would you take to the desert island? You already have the complete works of Shakespeare and the Bible. To which he responded with a bit of a chuckle, well, I don't think I'll be wanting the Bible. Very sad. The irony of it was, though, that the one record he chose to take with him was God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. Do you see the irony? He doesn't want to hear or read the Word of God, but he's quite happy to ask God about what the answer to loneliness is when you lose a loved one. That aside, there aren't very many people that say that at the end of Desert Island Discs. It's not unheard of, but there aren't very many. It strikes me as a statement of unbelievable arrogance, if I can say that. Unbelievable arrogance. Yes, of course, people are free to choose what they want and what they don't want. They're free to read or not read the Bible. But think of it this way. The Bible is the most sold book in the history of the world by a considerable margin. Not only that, but it is the most read book in the history of the world by a considerable margin. Not only that, but it is the most influential book in the history of the world by a considerable margin. To say, I won't be wanting that, I don't want to read this book, which, well, meets all those 3 criteria. The bigger, the more copies sold than anything else, more read than any other book, more influential than any other book. It's quite an arrogant statement, isn't it? You know, at the beginning of his letter to the Romans, the Apostle Paul talks about the gospel. He says this, "For I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it's the power of God for salvation, for everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek." After that he talks about righteousness, for in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith for faith, as it is written, the righteous shall live by faith. Righteousness comes by faith in God. That's what the gospel is. But Paul contrasts the righteousness of God with the wickedness of humanity. In verse 18, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men." Now, what does this have to do with the Bible? Well, it comes in the next phrase. "The wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who, by their unrighteousness, suppress the truth." See, to say I'm not going to bother with the Bible, I'm not going to read the Bible, is actually to suppress the truth. It's saying I don't want even to give the slightest possibility that God might be speaking through this book. I'm far happier with my own thinking, my own being. The Apostle Paul would say, my own wickedness and ungodliness. Now, in these days we are stuck in at home, isolating. Many of us have lots of spare time. Let me suggest to you that you might use at least some of that spare time well and wisely by reading the Bible more. If you don't normally read it, then why not read a part of it each day? If you do normally read it, why not read it some more? If you, like Brian Cox, think, well, I can't be doing with the Bible, give it a go. It's affected more people than anything else. Give it a go. Don't be so arrogant that you won't even give it a try. Now, in these days, there are more ways to read the Bible than ever before in history. We have so many copies of the Bible. I can't count how many copies of the Bible I have on my bookshelves. You can buy them in bookshops, in second-hand bookshops. You get them on Amazon, from anywhere. They're not difficult to get hold of. But with modern technology as well, there are a number of apps for your phone or websites that you can go to. Let me just mention two in particular. There's one very popular one called YouVersion. It comes on your mobile phone or tablet, and you download that app, and it's got Bible reading plans on there. You can send messages to friends through it and build up a social network to discuss what the Bible means. YouVersion it's called. If you go to the App Store or Google Play and just put YouVersion, that's YOU version, search for that, you will find it. The other app that I think is great is actually, it's not an app, it's a website, and it's called Bible Gateway. And Bible Gateway has so many different translations of the Bible in so many different languages, it's hardly believable. But the good thing about Bible Gateway is that you also have the option to listen to the Bible read to you. You can do this too in YouVersion, but in Bible Gateway you can choose with various translations all kinds of different people reading it, whether you like American English or British English, and even David Suchet is on there reading the Bible, the whole of the Bible, absolutely free. How about spending a bit of time sitting down with Hercule Poirot, exercising those little grey cells, and read the Bible or listen to him reading it to you. Give it a go.